And we're back here on the GSMC football podcast. And for the third part of the show, we're going to now talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers and what's going on over there. Because, I talked about it briefly when I recapped the triple-header from Saturday. But the Steelers got some problems. And, I saw that, during the game, George Pickens didn't, block on a play, and I guess there was some controversy over whether he was going to play in this game or not on Saturday against the Bengals coming up. But Tomlin said he is. Mike Tomlin said he is. But yeah, it's just, man, the Steelers. It's been a downward spiral, and it's ever since. Oddly enough, ever since Matt Canada got fired. Matt Canada gets fired, Kenny Pickett gets hurt, and now you got to turn it over to Mitchell Trubisky, who just... Listen, I honestly, when they brought him in last year, I didn't think it was a terrible signing, because, he was kind of going to be that bridge quarterback. I mean, listen, the Steelers have a good defense, and, they do have decent weapons, so you thought, Trubisky could do okay. But, yeah, he is very bad. I mean, you saw it in the Patriots game, and you saw it once again against the Colts, because they go up 13-0, and then that was it. They didn't do anything after that. And now they bench Trubisky, and now you got Mason Rudolph starting. There were Steelers fans at the Patriots when they were playing the Patriots are chanting for Mason Rudolph. Mason Rudolph. And the last time he started was, I think it was 2 years ago. I don't think he played at all last year. I mean, he might have, but yeah, it's not good what's going on in Pittsburgh right now. And there's a lot of, at least on social media, there's a lot of talk about, Mike Tomlin should be fired. And honestly, this would probably be the year to do it, because your team at one point was 7-4. You were, it looked like you were on your way to another winning season. Because that's the other thing, too. Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season. There's been years when he's gone 8-8. But, you look at what happened last year. I mean, last year they had a terrible record, and then they had a much better second half, and they were able to finish 9-8 and just miss out on the playoffs. And you thought, okay, this is something they could build off of. But, and listen, they were 7-4. But it wasn't a pretty 7-4. There was a lot of games that could have easily went the other way, but they didn't. Now, you lose to the Cardinals, you lose to the Patriots, who are going to be picking in the top 5 at least for this year. I mean, the Patriots are going to have a top 2 pick. The Cardinals, I mean, we'll see if they win another game, but if not top 3, definitely top 5 for both teams. I mean, the Patriots are picking in the top 3, but now, I mean, and then you just lose to the Colts where you were up 13-0, and then all of a sudden, the Colts, scored 30 unanswered points against you. I mean, yeah, it's not good. It's not good. And now you got the Bengals coming up at home, and they're playing well with Jake Browning at quarterback. Now, the Steelers could avoid having to deal with Jamar Chase this weekend, because obviously he got hurt in the game on Saturday against the Vikings, a shoulder injury. So, that can make things a little bit easier, but still. I mean, you got T. Higgins, you got Tyler Boyd, Jake Browning's playing good football. And on top of that, the Steelers are going to be without KZ, who's suspended for the rest of the year for the hit on Michael Pittman. And then you got Minkah Fitzpatrick, who's going to be out with a knee injury for probably the rest of the year. So the Steelers, their back end is not going to be 100% going into this game. And, you were making guys like DJ Montgomery, who I never heard of, making plays, scoring touchdowns. You had Tyler Goodson, because they were without Zach Moss, you were without Pittman, you're without Jonathan Taylor, obviously, and I think he should be coming back soon. Oh, he should be coming back maybe this week, because they said he's trending up. but yeah, you let the Colts run all over you and make plays with a lot of their guys being out. I mean, this is a team that's in free fall, and they're not running the football that great. Najee Harris, I mean, he's kind of turning himself into maybe a bust with how he's been running the football this year. Jaylen Warren has looked like a better runner than him. But yeah, I mean, you're not getting the ball to George Pickens. I mean, he's obviously frustrated, and of course that's where him not blocking on that play comes into play. I mean, you also had Deontay Johnson complaining. It's just there's some dysfunction going on in Pittsburgh, and you go back to the days with Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown, and yeah, that kind of all that was. I mean, listen, the Killer Bees, as they were used to call Brown, Bell, and Ben. I mean, that was a good time. Obviously, they didn't win anything, but yeah, like that offense was great when it was clicking on all cylinders. But it came along with the drama. I mean, Le'Veon holding out, Antonio Brown, getting traded, and you also had some guys on defense that were always trash talking, like Mike Mitchell, the safety. Listen, Mike Tomlin. There's been a lot of times where this team plays down to their competition over the years. Even with Big Ben and Brown and Bell, those guys, they would play down to their competition. Then there'd be other times where you're like, wow, this is the Steelers. The Steelers could be very inconsistent. But now, I mean, the offense isn't very good. The defense is kind of falling apart. I mean, maybe it was discussed in my my sports chat, is maybe it's just going to be the parting of the ways, as opposed to Mike Tomlin's getting fired. Like you would see it, they're parting ways, and maybe that's it. I mean, just like Belichick, maybe it's time for a change of scenery, and maybe the Steelers got to go in a different direction too, because they got question marks. I mean, is Kenny Pickett the long-term answer at quarterback? I mean, listen, they were winning games when he was playing, but is Kenny Pickett a guy that's going to bring you to a Super Bowl? And I'll be honest, for me at least, the answer is no. I don't see that. And especially, and that could also be because of the conference you play in. I mean, look at the teams you got to deal with. Even in your own division. You got the Ravens with Lamar. You got the Browns, who are not going away. I mean, they just got to figure out their quarterback situation. I mean, Deshaun Watson is going to be the guy long term, but I mean, it hasn't worked out. And then you got the Bengals with Joe Burrow. I mean, you're already with all the quarterbacks healthy in the division. The worst quarterback in the division, I mean, I'd probably still say is Kenny Pickett. Because in the past, we've seen what Deshaun Watson can do. Deshaun Watson's ceiling is a lot higher than Kenny Pickett's. But that might change now because, Deshaun, even before he got hurt, he just did not look like the same quarterback. But again, you'd probably still take him over Kenny Pickett. But yeah, the Steelers got the fourth best quarterback in the division. I mean, Deshaun Watson's third, and then you got Burrow and Lamar Jackson ahead of them. So there's that. It's just, and you got these wide receivers that just are complaining, and I mean, Pickens, I think, earlier in the year you got him unfollowing, unfollowing the Steelers on social media. So it's a mess. It's a mess right now. And again, this team at one point was 7-4. You're 7-7, and I'll be honest, I really don't know what game they're going to win the rest of the way. I mean, listen, they could pull out a win against the Bengals. It's possible because Jamar Chase being out is huge if he doesn't play. But I just think with the injuries on the defensive side of the ball, and I mean, Mason Rudolph, is he better than Trubisky? I mean, maybe, but that's not saying much. If Kenny Pickett's playing, I mean, listen, they probably win one of those games that they've lost, without him. But I mean, that's just how the season's gone for them. And again, this is probably the year where you would probably make changes. Got to make changes. and maybe go in a different direction. Tomlin maybe goes somewhere else. Because, listen, if they part ways, I mean, Mike Tomlin's going to get picked up in an instance. Something interesting that I heard is, maybe if he leaves Pittsburgh, if they part ways with him, maybe the Jets, they let go of Robert Saleh and they bring him in to pair with Aaron Rodgers because Aaron Rodgers has a good relationship with Tomlin. Well, I don't know, really. Well, I shouldn't say relationship, but like he has great respect for Tomlin. So, and listen, Mike Tomlin, like Aaron Rodgers, they won Super Bowls a long time ago. And it was funny. There was one night I was out, and it was the week they were playing the Cardinals. They were airing the Super Bowl against the Cardinals, the 2009-2010 season. Yeah, so that was right, 2009, or was it 2008 to 2009? I believe it was one of those. Well, regardless, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, because then the Saints won. Well, yeah, the Saints won it. Yeah, the Saints won it, I think, in 2009 to 2010. Yeah. So it was so it was the 08-09 / 09 Super Bowl that year. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but it was one of those two, of course. Yeah, so it just but ever since that game though, they won that Super Bowl a long time ago, and then they played the Cardinals, and that was kind of the beginning of the end because Kenny Pickett got hurt in that game. So it's like I said, it's kind of a mess right now in Pittsburgh, and again, where are the wins coming from? I don't really know, because you're playing in Seattle after this week. I mean, you're home against the Bengals, and then you finish, in Baltimore. I mean, listen, maybe you could beat the Ravens if they sit their guys, but even then, I don't even know. But it was just like this year with the Steelers, it was just like they were winning games, and people are like, how are they doing this right now? I mean, they beat the Rams on the road. They beat the Ravens, even though the Ravens kind of beat themselves in that game. But, like they were winning games. It was just like you're saying to yourself, how are they doing this? But they were finding ways to do that, and now it's the complete opposite. You're losing to the Cardinals, the Patriots with Bailey Zappi. I mean, you let Ezekiel Elliott run all over you like he did his rookie year in 2016. Yeah, it's just. But now I just think the wheels are falling off. I mean, you got disgruntled receivers. I mean, you got injuries on the defensive side of the ball and at quarterback. It's just. It's just one of those years that's. I mean, Tomlin's probably going to finish with a losing record, because I honestly. I don't know if the Steelers are going to win another game this year. I mean, they might. I think the best chance they win is on Saturday. After that, I mean, yes, they could beat Seattle, but I mean that's a tough place to play. And then the Ravens, I mean, we'll see, but I don't know. I think they at least, if they win one more game, I mean, they're probably going to go 8-9. Tomlin's going to finish with his first losing record. But then it's going to be up to the Steelers. Like, are you going to move off of him? I mean, again, I think this would be the year to do so. But, again, like, they might say, we dealt with injuries. We're going to run it back. But I don't know. They got some issues. And, again, running the football. I mean, again, Najee Harris, he has not looked like what they were hoping to get. He's had a few moments here or there, but, I mean, his rookie season was his best year. After that, it's just, and then that was with Ben Roethlisberger at quarterback. Now, things have kind of gone backwards, and, so we'll see. But, yeah, there could be major changes coming for Pittsburgh. I mean, well, at least there should be, but I don't know. I mean, there's still 3 games left to be played. I mean, anything's possible. But, yeah, right now things are not looking good in Pittsburgh. So, with that being said, we're going to take our final break of the show. And then when we come back, we will preview the first game of Week 16. And that is going to be be between the New Orleans Saints and the LA Rams. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.